Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are really getting into a fascinating face-off. It's in the entry-level camera world. Canon's EOS R50 versus the EOS R10.
A really common question we see.
Exactly.
Hmm.
You sent us a ton of material on this, and our mission today is, well, it's to cut through the noise. We want to figure out which camera really gives you the best bang for your buck for your specific needs.
And it's such a crucial deep dive because at their core, these cameras are. They're so similar. They're built on the same foundation. They both have that same great 24-megapixel APS-C sensor.
And they both plug into Canon's RF lens system, which is, growing like crazy.
Right.
And the timeline here is pretty important, too. The R10 came out first, back in May 2022.
Sort of set the standard.
It did. And then the R50 dropped about 9 months later, February 2023, and it kind of refined the formula for a slightly different user.
So we're really looking at contemporary tech. This isn't an old model versus a new one.
No, not at all. Which brings us to the immediate core question.
The money.
The money. It always comes down to the money.
Look, the sources are really clear on this. The R10 is currently sitting at $979.
Okay.
And the R50 is way lower. It's priced at just $679.
Wow. Okay, so that's a $300 difference.
It is. That's a 44% premium you're paying for the R10.
And for someone just starting out, $300 is, that's a whole new lens.
Or a good tripod or lighting or, a ton of accessories.
So that's the real challenge of this deep dive. We have to figure out if the R10's extra features are actually worth that 44% jump. That's the bar we have to clear.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We have to start with the core. The reason the image quality is, for all intents and purposes, a tie.
Right, the sensor.
As you said, they share what is fundamentally the identical 24-megapixel APS-C CMOS sensor.
And this is where it gets really interesting for me, because when we say APS-C, we mean that cropped sensor format. And on these two cameras, the physical size is it's basically the same.
It's negligible. You're talking 22.3 by 14.9 millimeters for the R50.
Versus 22.2 by 14.8 for the R10, a tenth of a millimeter.
Exactly. So because that imaging engine is the same, your output is going to be the same. The image quality itself, the dynamic range, so how it handles bright skies and dark shadows in one shot.
And Canon's colors, which people love.
All of that is going to be virtually identical.
They even have the same ISO range, right?
Yep, 100 to 32,000, and you can push it to 51,200 if you really need to.
So we've got the same engine, but the bodies, the chassis as you called it, they are definitely built for different drivers.
That's the clearest split. The physical design really tells you who each camera is for. If you value portability, if you want something discreet that you can just throw in a bag, the R50 is the obvious winner.
And I know the weight difference sounds, kind of minor on paper. The R50 is 375 grams.
And the R10 is 426.
So that's only 51 grams. But the sources all say it's not just the weight that makes the difference, it's the size.
It's the bulk. The R50 is just so much more compact. It's 7 millimeters narrower, 2 millimeters shorter. But the big one is the thickness. It's 14 millimeters thinner.
And that's huge.
It is.
The R50 is only 69 millimeters deep. The R10 is over 83.
Yeah.
And that 14 millimeters, that's the difference between slipping a camera into your jacket pocket versus needing a dedicated camera bag.
It really is.
Yeah.
The R50 actually delivers on that original mirrorless promise, a high-quality camera that doesn't give you a sore neck at the end of the day.
For sure. But despite being smaller, the R50 keeps one of the best features.
The screen.
The screen. They both have that awesome 3-inch fully articulating touchscreen.
Which is just a massive feature for anyone doing vlogging or trying to get creative low angles without, line in the mud.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That alone makes them both fantastic tools for creators.
It does.
Okay, so we've established the R50 is the portable one. Let's shift gears. The R10 is the speed king. This is where you're supposedly spending that extra money.
This is where it has to prove its worth, absolutely. If you're shooting high-speed, action-think sports, your kids' soccer games, birds in flight, this is where the R10 starts to justify that premium.
So let's break down the actual numbers. The R50 is, it's no slouch. It shoots 12 frames a second with mechanical shutter.
And 15 with the electronic.
Yeah.
Which, let's be honest, is plenty fast for most people.
Right. But the R10...
The R10 matches the R50's electronic speed with its mechanical shutter. So 15 frames per second, and then it just rockets up to a crazy 23 frames per second with its electronic shutter.
Okay, wait. 23 frames per second that's intense. For someone starting out, isn't that just going to fill up your memory card with 1,000 photos you don't need?
It could be overkill, sure. But if you're trying to freeze a moment that lasts for a millisecond,
Like a baseball hitting a bat.
exactly. Or a bird, just as its wings are in the perfect position. That extra speed is the difference between getting the shot and getting a shot that's almost right. The R10 is for people who know they can't afford to miss that moment.
And the R10's speed advantage isn't just about frames per second, is it? It's about the shutter itself.
Right. What's so interesting here is how the R10 is built for tricky lighting situations. It has a much faster maximum electronic shutter speed. It goes all the way up to 116,000th of a second.
While the R50 stops at 18,000th.
Half the speed.
So for someone listening, why should they care? What does 116,000th of a second actually let you do?
It's for shooting with fast lenses in bright sunlight. Say you want that beautiful blurry background, the bokeh for a portrait outside. You need to open your lens aperture wide open.
But then too much light comes in and the photo is just blown out all white.
Exactly. That faster shutter speed lets you cut down the light without having to close your aperture. It gives you creative control over your depth of field, even in the brightest daylight.
And the R10 has one more trick up its sleeve for action shooters, something the R50 just doesn't have at all.
This is maybe the biggest performance difference.
The pre-shooting buffer.
The pre-shooting buffer. It's an incredible feature. It actually starts capturing images before you fully press the shutter button down.
It's like a time machine for your camera.
It really is. So you half press the shutter while you're waiting for the action, say for a diver to hit the water. The camera is already recording frames to a temporary buffer. When you finally press all the way down, it saves those moments from just before you reacted.
So even if your reaction time is a little slow, the camera has your back.
It completely covers you.
Yep.
For action photography, that is an indispensable tool, and it's a huge reason to pick the R10.
And of course, if you're out there shooting action all day, you need a battery that can keep up.
Another big win for the R10, it's rated for 450 shots on a single charge.
Compared to the R50's 370.
Right, so that's an 80-shot difference, which is about a 22% improvement.
And in the real world, that 22% means you might not have to pack a spare battery for a day trip. It just gives you that extra peace of mind.
For sure.
So, okay, the R10 is the clear performance champ. But the R50 is the newer camera, and it came with some newer software tricks, right? Features that are aimed right at content creators.
Exactly. Now we shift back to the R50's advantages. And let's start with video and just the screen itself. Both do excellent 4K video, no recording limits.
But the viewing experience is different.
It's much better on the R50. It has a higher resolution LCD screen. We're talking 1.62 million dots versus the R10's 1.04 million.
So everything just looks sharper, clearer.
Much clearer, which is really important when you're trying to nail your focus manually in a 4K video. You can just see more detail.
But there's a real pro video feature on the R50 that most beginners wouldn't even know they needed until they see the problem in their edits.
Yes, lens breathing correction.
Tell us about that.
So with a lot of lenses, when you change your focus from something close to something far away, the frame itself seems to slightly zoom in or out. That's called focus breathing.
And it looks really distracting and frankly kind of amateurish.
It does. The R50 has software that, for supported lenses, digitally corrects for that. It smooths it out so your focus pulls look clean and professional. It's a very modern feature the R10 just doesn't have.
Okay, now to be fair, the R10 does have one video advantage.
It does. High-speed video. The R10 can shoot up to 120 frames per second for super slow motion.
And the R50 tops out at 60.
So if you're all about that silky smooth slow-mo, the R10 still has the edge there.
But for the average YouTuber or an Etsy seller or someone doing product reviews, the R50 has another killer feature.
The product showcase mode.
Yes. This seems like such a smart idea.
It's brilliant for its target audience. You turn this mode on, and it optimizes everything. The aperture, the focus, the white balance all for capturing objects clearly and professionally.
So instead of fumbling with settings to make sure your product is in focus when you hold it up to the camera.
It just does it. It's a huge time saver and removes a major technical hurdle for people who just want to create good-looking content without becoming a camera expert.
It's an incredible value add, especially when you remember you're saving $300 on the camera itself.
Absolutely.
Which brings us to an area where they are, again, functionally identical. And that's autofocus.
Yeah, they're both equally fantastic here. They share the same system. You get 651 focus points. You get Canon's amazing face and eye tracking.
So for portraits, for vlogging, for just general use, you're not going to see a difference between them.
Not at all. They're both incredibly reliable.
So let's connect this to the bigger picture, future-proofing your gear. The good news is they both use the same Canon RF lens mount.
Which means you're investing in a healthy, growing system. Our sources say there are 91 native RF lenses out now.
And 37 of those have image stabilization.
Yes, and that number is key because it brings us to the biggest shared limitation of both of these cameras.
A really important one. Stabilization.
This is a critical point. Neither camera has in-body image stabilization or IBIS.
For anyone new to that term, that's where the sensor inside the camera physically moves to counteract your handshaking.
And without it, you are entirely reliant on stabilization that's built into the lens itself. Or digital stabilization for video, which crops your image.
So what does that mean in practice?
It means if you're shooting handheld in low light, say indoors without a flash, you're at a higher risk of getting blurry photos from camera shake if your lens isn't stabilized.
So you really need to factor in the cost of buying those stabilized lenses.
You do. It's a major compromise they made to hit these prices.
And there's one other shared compromise, and this one is about durability.
That's right. Neither camera has any weather sealing.
Okay, and you really need to ask yourself, how often am I going to be shooting in tough conditions?
We're not talking about, a monsoon. We're talking about a dusty trail, high humidity, maybe a light drizzle at a soccer game.
All of that dust and moisture can get inside the camera and potentially damage the sensor or electronics.
So you have to be more careful. It just reinforces that these are, at their heart, entry-level bodies. You don't get that pro-level ruggedness.
Okay, so let's tie this all together. Final assessment. The source material actually gave a final score.
They did.
Okay.
And it leaned toward the more affordable camera. The R50 scored a 64 overall.
Compared to the R10's 62?
So the R50 is the recommended choice for most people, for the general photographer, the traveler, the new creator.
Because of that superior value, the portability, and those really smart creator tools like the product showcase mode.
It even scores a little higher for just daily photography, purely because it's smaller and lighter and you're more likely to have it with you.
So the R10 is really only for a very specific niche.
Exactly. The R10 is the better camera, only if speed is your absolute #1 priority.
If you need 23 frames per second, if you need that pre-shooting buffer for your action shots or that little bit of extra battery.
For everything else, for landscape, for portraits, the sources rate them as basically equal.
So it really is a choice between, on one hand, affordability and portability.
And on the other hand, pure high-speed performance.
Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you to take away.
You're standing there thinking about spending an extra $300 on the R10. And you need to ask yourself, honestly, how many times a month will I actually need 23 frames per second? And then ask this, would that saved $300 be better spent on one of those 37 image stabilized RF lenses? Because that lens would directly solve the biggest weakness of both cameras, the lack of IBS, and it would make all of your handheld shots sharper no matter which body you put it on.